Kate Valentine had thyroid cancer in 1981 when she had what she believed was an experience with God. She now believes that she had a near-death experience. Welcome to all of you. You felt the presence of God.
Well, I had a different experience in the respect that I had been sick for 11 months with cancer and the complications that followed, and I was sent home to die. It had been my last wish to die in my house. And after my experience, I woke up the next morning and I was completely cured. There was no traces of cancer, transplants that they had put in that refused to work for over 12 months.
Where did your experience come from? You just went to sleep and found yourself in the presence of God?
I remember saying, when I had finally written my living will, I had made out my regular will, my husband and I had discussed who would take care of our 3 small children and said goodbye to everybody. I had this sense that it was okay to let go. I had finally put my house in order. And at this point, I had my health had deteriorated and I had a viral lung infection which made breathing almost impossible. If I had been in the hospital, I would have been on a respirator. And I remember just kind of closing my eyes and saying, it's okay to let go now. And I thought for years and years, it wasn't until 1986 that I found out that this thing had a name. It was called a near-death experience. For years I said to people I had this dream. And the first thing I remember was speeding through this dark, very dark area, all pervasive darkness, not like you have here that's a gradient shades of light, but that happened very quickly. And just as quickly I found myself in an incredible area of the most intense light, but it wasn't the kind that makes you squint.
And Kate, if you had someone close to you die, do you now have
I've had several people over the last 3 years die. It doesn't mean that you don't mourn because they're not here in bodily form for you to touch and to react with, interact, but no, I know they're closer to me in that dimension. See, here we're separated little containers called bodies. In the next dimension, you understand how we are truly all one and related, and that what we do affects the whole outcome of the whole scenario of the world. But I was interested, just to get back to another point you were making about, you know, how do we know that this isn't reality, what we've experienced? Right. I think it's so interesting that the hardcore realists base their reality on things that can't be seen, on protons, electrons, microwaves. It is the same type of thing. The spiritual force is available.
Let me just challenge that a little bit and say to you that it may be that we can't see them, but we can demonstrate them by a variety of chemical and electronic action. So they are observable, just not to the naked eye.
Well, there are evidence that what we experienced, like my healing when I came back, that
what did the doctors say about your healing? I mean, that is quite remarkable.
They said that sometimes these things happen. And that was their statement. They didn't have any answer any more than I did at the time that it happened. There was a purpose, there is a grand design, and that near-death experiences are part of this whole world change, this new epic that we're coming into as a civilization. The first time in mankind's history that we can choose peace, total peace, or total destruction.
Did you actually see the face of God?
No.
How did you feel that that was His presence as opposed to others?
Well, because I tell people if God is all forgiving, all compassionate, and all loving, that's who I stood next to.
I'm curious to know what you are doing today, right now, that you might never have done. If anything, your life is directed a great deal about lecturing about your experience. How else have you changed? What else might you be doing that you would never have done?
I left the corporate world and got involved with nonprofit organizations, became the director of both senior centers and YMCAs. Very involved in helping the community in any way I can, either through soup kitchens or helping those that are less fortunate. And giving hope and counseling. I counsel a lot of individuals on a one-on-one, just sharing, really, my story and the hope that there is more after this life.